up into my method. At first, when I was going to, like, when I was doing certain things, I started noticing when I would go to the gym, I would stop after a while because I wasn't getting there was a reason that I was doing it, but I was getting it based on it was an impulse. I'm acting on the impulse. I'm gonna start going to the gym because I want to work out and I want to lose some weight and I want to. It's all external states of being. None of it was based on self evaluation. None of the reason I was going to the gym was based on evaluating myself, reflecting within myself, and building myself in that space. It was all based upon the impulse of, ooh, shit. So since it started with an impulse, my urge could only be fed by the impulse. So, use for the example, I'm going to the gym. I was like, in order for me to go to the gym, I gotta have this pair of sweatpants. I gotta have these sweatpants. I gotta have these shoes. I gotta have this workout equipment. I gotta have this workout formula. I gotta have this, this, and this. So I'm literally keep feeding the urge. I keep feeding the impulse. I keep feeding the impulse. The impulse becomes infinite based on what frequency that it's going to be on. So when we think about our impulses and how we're acting based on our urges and urgency, and remember how yesterday I was talking about that impact is either going to cause you to elevate. Your impact is either going to inspire elevation or separation. When you think in that thought process, are your impulses being controlled by your fear, or are they being controlled by you reaching to the higher aspects of love? Are the influences in your life, are the impulses that you're acting on, are you acting on based on fear, which is the reactive sense, or are you acting based on love, which is the cultivating sense of yourself? For me, I'm acting in the space of cultivating myself. Everything that I do links to something. I had a beautiful run on the treadmill to the sun. The sun came up through the window. I'm staring at the sun the entire time. I'm staring at the sun. I'm moving to the rhythm of the sun. I'm in that space. It was a very beautiful moment for me. It was a cleansing moment for me. It was like I was at one with myself. I was in an understanding phase of myself. Any impulses, any urges, I don't have those urges anymore. It's similar to take the thought process if I were to tell an individual, because we do things based on regurgitation. If I was to tell somebody, yo, I always got sex on my mind. If somebody was to tell me they always have sex on their mind, I have a list of questions that I could ask about what do you mean you always have sex on your mind? If someone would ask me, what do you mean you always got sex on your mind? That means you always, no, I'm not, the sex that's on my mind is the sacred energy exchange. The masculine and the feminine, the masculine, which is the knowledge that is provided in order to be nurtured for the wisdom and the guidance for me to continue creating. So sex is always on my mind because I'm in that androgynous state. That's that marriage, that union of myself. Until I'm able to understand why, it's not about suppressing. Because suppression is, okay, for a couple of days, I'm going to stop doing this. For a couple of days, I'm going to stop drinking soda. For a couple of days, I'm going to stop smoking this. For a couple of days, I'm going to stop doing this. Until the urge has subsided. Until the urge has subsided. This becomes that thing where we a lot of us get stuck in. We're doing it based on the feed that impulse. So now that I have the impulse to do this, and I don't understand why I do it, other than I'm grown or whatever it may be, this made up glamour that I put onto it, when I'm going backwards to it, I'm going to fall into the same state of repression or suppressing it based on going forward was based because going forward was based on repression from something. Going backwards is based on the suppression of doing it. So if I cut this out for a couple of days until this urge subsides, what you're actually doing is, this is how an urge works. This is how that urge works in that space. So if I'm sitting inside my space and I want to never go back, let's say I never want to go back to being broke and all of these some shit like that. I never want to go back. I never want to go back to what I learned through my trauma. Let's say put it in there. The patterns. Let's say I never want to go back. My urges are going to be fed, or my impulses are going to be fed by that thought process. So now every time that I think about being broke, the impulse to suppress or to further repress understanding this narrative of myself is further repressed based on what my acting on in my impulse. How I'm going to act within this, how I'm going to react to this situation. A lot of us fall into a state of reacting to a situation. So we spend our entire day building based on reaction. So like take this thought in your mind. Like when you wake up in your thought process, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it based on reactivity or is it based on proactivity? Like with the first thing that happens when you wake up, what is the first on your mind? Is it based on reactivity or proactivity? The first thing that comes onto your mind. Remember, the way that you start your day is the way that your day flows. Yes, exactly. Cycling. Yes. You continuously go through this pattern of yourself of, if this doesn't, so now that you're doing in your impulses, is like, if that doesn't happen, now you feel like you've done something. This is when people think about, if I pray to Jesus, or I pray to Allah, or I pray to whomever in that space, and they're like, if it doesn't happen, that means I need to do more work, and if it does happen, that means I've done enough work. This is how you treat things based on this. You're cycling yourself through that same thought process to react. So you only do it up to a point till you get something that you get from it. Until you have the glamour, that projection that you put into that space, you're only going to go as far as set by your own reaction. You're only going to go as far as the impulse impedes you to. Rather than me sitting in my space like, okay, I want this. I have to align myself to this. I got to put myself into this. Let me build my deviation to myself. Woo! Let me build my deviation to myself. Let me build the aspects to me that is my temple. Let me work on my temple. Mentally, emotionally, let me put everything in an alignment of my temple. How do I do that? Somewhere in my temple there's a reactive sense. Because when you're moving in offense, I've talked about this before, that offensive mindset, the offensive when you're moving in an offensive observational state, that is that means you have looked at yourself from the internal observation. That means I've looked at how all these things are. I'm looking at these things not based on I don't like that or I don't like that. I'm looking at it I'm really looking at it like, why am I mad at this person? Woo. I'm based on, why do I like this person? Why, Great Roz. I'm looking at, why do I like this person? Why don't I like this person? It's one thing to know, but it's another thing to truly understand. Knowing is a part of the external state based on, I don't like this person, but why? Can I really set myself in a position and self-observe myself not liking this person? Why does this person make me act in this way? Why does this person make me do like this? Because until you're able to do that, once something gives you a reason to react to it, you'll stop doing it. One of my favorite things that I had to do for myself was, for like about 30 days straight, I took in information. I remember when Bobby Hemmings said it. I took in information from everywhere, every point of reference that was just there. I don't care if I didn't like the person as a person, didn't care. I was just listening to people, like just listening to them. And then I was looking at I don't like this person because of this. I don't like this. I was taking my mind out of that, and I was actually looking at these individuals like, what about them reminds me of me? If it's there. What about them reminds me of this about myself? Why don't I like this person? And then as I got better at it, I started looking like some of the reasons that I was picking was on some dumb shit. Some of the reasons I was picking was on some dumb shit. I don't like them because they got on a cowboy jersey. I don't like them because they're wearing they got on a cross. And then I'm looking at me and myself is like, someone's gonna say they don't like me. Yeah, that's the key. Yeah, if it's there. So I'm looking at myself like, people don't like me because of the stuff that I'm doing. And it's like, I can't impute the message. Because my first impulse is to react based on something that I need to keep myself away from it. I created that glamour. If they don't fit this cookie cutter model for me in order to understand them, then I don't want to listen to it. This is going to be your key. You have to stop trying to put yourself in a position where it's coming to you. You're going to it based on alignment. Those impulses that have you only reacting based on the impulse instead of setting yourself up to go to it, you're going to start seeing that in your day-to-day deviation, your routine for yourself. How you set your routine. Is your routine based on whatever comes, or is it I'm going for it? And what I mean by going forward, I mean you truly have put together in that reinforcement into your space of how you're going to go forward. That means you have put together not only the plan of attack to get towards it, but the plan of attack after you get to it. This is going to change the reflection of your space. When I look in the space that I'm in, everything in my space is in reflection of where I'm going to next. Everything in my space is in a reflection of where I'm going to next. So I'm being proactive in my approach. If I'm not giving it to myself, I can't expect anything else to vibrate with me on that level. If I'm not doing it for myself, my shirt says sweat more, bitch less. So the more that I sweat, the more pain that I know I'm going to endure, the less I'm going to bitch. Because I understand there's a purpose for my sweat. I'm not doing it in reaction. Because then, as it starts to not decompress, as it starts to break down based on my urge, based on me only doing it based on the urge, my reaction is going to be based upon the lowest type shit. So like, instead of me going to the gym, and my mind says, okay, cool, I got to sweat. I'm going to work out until I sweat. That's bare minimum shit, because you can go in the gym, run on the treadmill for about 10 minutes and start sweating if you got on the right shit. But then take yourself into the space of the mindset that when I'm in there, is like, why am I sweating? Every drip of sweat that falls from my body is cleansing me and getting me ready for the day. Every drop of sweat that I drop off of my body, every pump that I do, every stretch, every squat, everything that I do is lining me up to my purpose, is lining me up to my shit. This is you live. This is you cultivate. When you cultivate your purpose, you're creating. You understand there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. You understand, but we turn it around. It's the ending, the beginning, the middle, and the beginning. So from when I started what I'm doing now, that was my ending. So that means old relationships that did not match that frequency, done. I had a reasoning why I had to let those go. They no longer fed me. They no longer gave me the reflection of the charge that was necessary in my space. So when I came to the middle point, I had to be really, really honest with myself before moving forward. And it took me a while right there in my middle point before going forward. I was sitting there really with myself, being honest with those conversations with myself. Sometimes I would ask myself a question that was so painstakingly headshot to my ego that I would sit in my house, no lie, I would sit in the house, TV off. I go through the motions of everything I do every other day, but I'd be sitting in the living room, TV off, sitting there with my remote, just pressing the remote at the television. Because I was now going from the unconsciously pressing the buttons and letting it play me, and I was subconsciously pressing this channel button up and down, trying to find the answer. And I was doing it unconsciously until it recorded into my mind. I was actually doing the step. That's what it means about that divine intervention. The divine intervention is only going to be, it's beautiful to your soul, but it becomes the most horrific shit to your identity, to your ego. It's going to make you think things, feel things that you never thought you could feel. The same thing, like when I was talking about the aspect of karma, it's going to make you feel things that you thought you never felt. It's going to make you question things that you've never questioned. But you cannot question it in the same manner based upon feeding that impulse. The way to build this is when we go around the way of building that, when you build a belief. Whenever I come into a space, I know I move into the space of being open to understand, is there something greater than this? What balance or boundary? What's less than this? Yes. What's less than this? And what's more than this based on my belief or my standard? How did I build my belief? How can I use this then now belief or this space in order to cultivate and help me learn and expand? As opposed to what the fuck I was doing before. This is you stepping into that shoes or you growing. You know, this is one of the most honest things. You know exactly what it is you need to do, what you need to be saying. You know exactly what you need to be doing. You know exactly what's there, but it takes you to be extremely honest with yourself. It makes you actually have to see that crisis point, that trauma, as that shock or that fuse to opening up that door. It's going to take you to step into that space and actually be like, you know what? This is right. Because until you align yourself into that space, until you align yourself into that space, you're going to start noticing, especially now with the energy, you can be putting that same energy into the same thing you've been doing over and over and over again, but it seems like it's not connecting. Because it was never a connection, it was an attachment. The reason why you needed to do that was based on the impulse or the urge, based upon that trauma, based upon that crisis or that event that happened in your life. So now you're living it out, you're projecting through it, reacting to everything. Yeah. Then you have to not become addicted to the crisis because they will keep coming at you until you step outside. Yes, that is an exact joint. Then you have to not become addicted to crisis because a lot of people become addicted to that. That's like the biggest aspect of the impulse. It's like, oh shit, something happened that was like very, very. So now you got addicted to the feeling of that addiction. Like, oh my God, I didn't believe this happened. So you're getting stuck within that space. You can't get stuck in that mindset. You can get stuck within, I've suffered, so I'm going to create through suffering. I'm going to create through this oppressive monologue. I'm going to move through this oppressive monologue in order to get to everything that I need to get, because now you're stuck in that impulse phase. If it does not give you a sense, yes, that adrenaline rush. That was a great album by Twister, by the way. But you're going to put yourself in this mindset, and then you're going to be wondering, what exactly am I outside of whatever I've been used to? That's the unknown aspect. You're going from adrenaline your adrenaline rushing is based upon the energy that's already within that space. It's a hit, or it's that hit from the chaos. You get a taste of the chaos. As opposed to being fully within the chaos, that's your full potential. That full potential moment. That's what I said earlier about sacred energy exchange. If you really took the intellectual route and studied what sex was and what it does to the body, you would see that it's the most chaotic shit that happens in this physical aspect. That's pure fucking chaos. And then you would stop trying. Then once you understand this process, remember, you got to understand to apply, not understand just to be like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna have sex for about 2-3 years. I'm not gonna have sex for a couple months. I'm not gonna have sex this, and this. Because while you're suppressing, you're not able to learn anything. While you're suppressing, you're not able to learn anything. You sitting there in that space. I ain't had sex for 4 years. I ain't had sex for 6 years. I've been this, and this. What have you done with yourself? What have you done? Since you're not doing the external aspect, how are you marrying yourself? Because that's what that bond is. 1 + 1 become 2. So what are you doing in that bond? How are you bonding to yourself? How are you marrying yourself? I'm fully married to my masculine and feminine aspects of me. And I show that in the examples of everything that is been invoked. From something as simple as my nails are strong as fuck. That's all the feminine aspect. Everything that I'm doing is within the aspects of what I am. I have now learned how to coagulate and congeal and make myself move into that space. That's your unity. I'm not moving off an impulse. Everything that I do is in a calculation. So since I'm able to calculate at one level, I now have to learn how to calculate at all the other levels. So I multi-layer the reasons that I'm doing something. Building myself into that balance. Learning that divine principle of myself. Being able to be open to move within that space. And as you start doing this, that's when that shit start going off. That's when the shit start changing within you. That's how you start rising into your greater self. When you stop moving off impulse, you're gonna stop moving off doubt. You're gonna start moving off, I know what I need to do. This death is sweet. Death is sweet. I love death. I love death because I understand it. I love the dark because I'm in understanding of it. It's not just off knowing. It's like I truly understand the aspects, the vast subjects within it. That's why I love going into it. The same way that, why would I want to sustain something when I can create it from my own self, in my own image, and build that balance? I'm looking to build into a planet of a balance of the two suns. That's my next. That's where I'm in that divine union mindset. But I want you to be the fucking best. I love dying is fun. At first it'd be a little trippy. You like, nigga, I don't want to do it. Nah, maybe not. But like when you get used to dying, you just know when it's time for something to die. You just like, someone to look at you, be like, what's wrong with you? You be like, nothing. I know it's. What day is it to you? Tuesday. It's Tuesday, November 26th. I know that ain't the day. It's Tuesday, November 26th, 2021. What happened? Yo, I died that day. Yes. Yeah, like celebrate the same way we celebrate the beginnings, we need to celebrate those endings. Because those endings lead us to our new beginning. You have to be able to celebrate it and move yourself into that space. Changing yourself. I was thinking about it the other day, like literally my eyes, like I was in the mirror, I was like, nigga, why I look like one of the demons from Supernatural sometimes? But that's all a part of learning yourself. Like there's always an infinite amount of shit that you can learn within your space. I want you to be the fucking best. In order to become the fucking best, in order to rise into your best self, it takes you being totally honest with yourself, to build that transparency, to open yourself up and actually see what your soul actually wants. Not moving off the impulse of what your ego loves, but going off what your ego wants and needs. You're going into what your soul truly needs, and that takes that going internal. Whether it's a reading, whether it's setting up a shadow consultation with me, setting up that shadow work, that shadow reading and consultation with me, exploring the aspects of your chakras and so many more different aspects. readings, all of that, natal chart analysis with that reading into that, where I'm about to bring everything of your natal chart out of your, nigga, I didn't know that all that shit was in there before. That's what I'm supposed to do. GottaCoAlchemistLLC.com, or you can inbox me directly or rock call on Nijas. Tomorrow we are getting into divine intervention on the God Hour on God Co-Alchemist. My I don't know why Dame Dash is coming in. Tomorrow, Gotta Co-Alchemist YouTube channel, we're getting into divine intervention. We're gonna get into the darker aspects of what you need, like understanding the darker aspects of this shit that comes to you. That's the divine intervention. It's supposed to be horrific to your humanity, the human aspects of yourself. That's what you need to start really, really looking for when you're doing your shadow work. Stop going into the dark, stop going into the corner and being like, all right, I saw the skeleton in the closet. I want you to go into the closet with the skeleton, be face to face with the skeleton. I want you to smell. I want you to smell. I want you to hear. This is your key. You need to activate them senses and see everything, feel everything, taste everything about that skeleton that's in your closet. And that's what we're going to get into 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. God, Occult Alchemist YouTube channel. I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to be what you are supposed to be. Allow yourself to integrate and bring everything back together. Yeah, make friends with it. Dress it up. Y'all like, for the queens out there, to the queens out there, and then some of the kings that were actually playing Dollhouse and whatever, do the same thing. Sit with your demons and have the conversation, because there are only predefined definitions that lock your energy away. But I want you to be the fucking best. I love you. We love us. Ashe.